Hey, this is Legendary Focus. I'm Lora.
And I'm Marcel, and this is Food Trickery.
This week is all about food, and we really can't get into that without going into what really started us on our health food journey in the first place. Around this time last year is when we actually started going hardcore into watching what we eat. The reason behind all of that stemmed from me actually wanting to get off of some medication I was on. I know you're probably like, oh my gosh, what medication were you on? I actually had Crohn's disease. I was diagnosed back in 2016. I was on a medicine called Humira for like a year and a half, and I didn't like how it was making me feel. I went to my doctor. I told her that I wanted to see about possibly doing something holistic instead of having to take, XYZ medication for the symptoms that the Humira was giving me. She kind of laughed in my face when I told her that I wanted to change my diet in order to help cure myself. This was after not wanting to accept the fact that she said I was going to be on the medication forever. So I wasn't about to accept that. I didn't want to think that I was going to have to be on any kind of medication for the rest of my life. I did what any person who was pissed off by a doctor would do. I took to my phone, typed in health food store. There happened to be one right across the street. I went in there. They just happened to be talking about someone who cured themselves holistically from Crohn's disease. I got a free book and bam, there's no such thing as coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. I eventually got down to where I was only eating fish instead of any white meat or red meat. And then eventually I was able to cut out the fish, went vegetarian. As of today, I've been vegetarian for 6 months. We've been eating
a lot cleaner, a lot healthier,
and the past year.
We've discovered a lot of deception that has been going down in the food industry, and you have to come to understand that these people are not farmers. They don't understand food. These people are chemists. They understand science, which is a whole nother topic for debate. So I'd rather trust a farmer than a chemist any day.
With my food. They make it so difficult to actually eat clean. You have to read everything. You can't just look at the pictures anymore. We quickly found that out. The deception is real.
So you need to turn around that label and make sure that you're reading every single ingredient and make sure that you can pronounce the things that are on these labels. Real food is food, it's not ingredients.
And when you're reading the labels, you have to really understand what you're seeing, because they can say made from natural sources or a natural flavoring,
and that be not exactly what they mean.
And it may not be natural in the sense of what you think natural is. They can call vanilla flavoring natural, which comes from I can't say this with a straight face, look it up yourself. They can get natural vanilla flavoring from the secretions of a beaver's butt. Butt juice.
They milk the beaver's butt. This is on National Geographic. You can't make this up. They milk beaver's butts for vanilla juice.
It's gross. But
totally
hey,
gross.
It's natural. So what are you eating?
Here are a couple guidelines to look out for when you go grocery shopping. Like we said before, make sure that you can read the label. And if you can't understand what's on the label, there are apps like Foodicate that you can get from your app store and actually scan the label of these foods and it'll pop back exactly what's in it and healthier alternatives that you can use.
Another quick thing you can look for is organic, non-GMO, and me personally, I like to look for gluten-free. Like if you're not trying to cut out dairy altogether, there are alternatives. Make sure your dairy is organic, it's hormone-free. If the cows could be grass-fed, that's even better. Personally, I'm trying to cut it out. Cheese is holding on to me. But even that,
good, man.
Even that, like American cheese isn't real cheese.
No, it isn't.
It's so filled with oils and
government.
A big thing we like to avoid also is aspartame. It's in a lot of gum, diet sodas, along with a bunch of other things. The main problem with aspartame is the fact that it is so bad for you. And a lot of people know it's bad for you, yet it's in so many different things. Aspartame can cause seizures, depression, birth defects, cancer. There's so many other things that this little chemical can cause, and yet it's found in so many different foods.
It doesn't make any sense. Who decides how much aspartame is enough to be okay in my body? I pretty much figure 0 is enough. And while we're on that, let's talk about water. A lot of times your water is not what you think it is. If you turn the back of your Dasani bottle around, look at the ingredients, and then really ask yourself, why does my water have ingredients?
Right. Oh wait, they tell you they add minerals for taste.
Why does my water need to taste like anything but water? Google some of these things. You'll see that Dasani water has potassium chloride in it. And potassium chloride is the third drug in the 3-drug cocktail that they use for lethal injections. Who decides how much potassium chloride is fit enough to go in my body and how much is fit enough for a serial killer? It's insane when you really boil it down to what it is.
Water that we found to be easy because we don't have to have any guesswork with it is distilled water. The beauty of distilled water is you're gonna know that you're gonna get 100% water without any additives to it. I mean, they legally cannot add anything to it because that's the kind of water that they'll use in like machines and stuff.
But if you notice, this is the main water that they tell you not to drink. The most pure water is the water that they tell you not to drink.
Food coloring. Now I'm sure we're all very familiar with this one, especially if you grew up drinking Kool-Aid.
My favorite was red. What flavor was red?
It was either strawberry or cherry.
Or watermelon.
Or watermelon or black cherry. Food coloring is definitely something to be avoided. It's not natural. It's actually banned in a bunch of other countries throughout the world. If it's not safe there, then why is it okay for us to eat? They'll start putting food coloring in everything to make you think that it's supposed to be this vibrant color that we see, you know, in cartoons. Natural foods, they don't always look like that. Candy is a huge culprit for having lots of food coloring. They'll even stick it in fruits though.
The deception with food coloring just don't go to your candies and your fruits and things of that. They also continue on to meat. So one day, Lora and I were in Kroger and I was shopping for some salmon, and I basically asked the guy behind the counter, what's the difference between the wild caught and the farm raised? Besides $5, you know,
right.
a pound. And he was basically, in more or less words, like, never ever get the farm raised because it's not that color. It's actually gray. They feed it corn and all types of other things. Stuff that's not in fish's diets for one thing, so they're probably sick.
It makes them turn gray, so they have to then feed them these pellets that are colored, so then they can, that basically breaks down into their bodies to give them a little more of that reddish, pinkish tint.
It's still not the right color though.
No, it's not natural whatsoever. Food coloring has also been linked to ADHD as well as some cancers. So I'm sure you've heard of this one, MSG.
Monosodium glutamate.
And its cousin disodium glutamate. These are flavor enhancers.
So these things are here to just trick your brain into thinking that you're tasting things that you're actually not actually tasting.
Monosodium glutamate is found in a lot of savory dishes, primarily soups, Campbell's. Packed filled with the stuff. In fact, it's kind of funny too because if you look at the can, it says no artificial flavors, low in fat and low in cholesterol. Oh, and chicken meat with no antibiotics.
Ooh, that sounds good. No antibiotics.
Only 60 calories per half cup. Perfect for you.
And your children.
But now let's look at the ingredients. They like to look like they're all good for you because it says no artificial flavors on the back. But then if you actually look into the ingredients, you still have monosodium glutamate. Some modified cornstarch, and some sodium phosphate, and some thiamine monotrite. They'll put buzzwords on food to try to trick you into thinking it's good for you, but you still have to actually just look at the ingredients.
Another thing to watch out is sodium benzoate. This is going to be in your salads, your pies, your jams and jellies, and they use this as a preservative. It's an additive or a stabilizer, which is going to keep your food fresh for you, and it can also keep your insides nice and fresh too while you're digesting it. And also, sodium benzoate has been linked to cancer.
There's also things like xanthan and gum, which is in a lot of stuff because it's a stabilizer and it's supposed to be natural. I mean, technically, but it's natural because it's kind of a bacterial waste. It's in a lot of, obviously, some gum, as well as you see it in a lot of veggie products that are processed in a sense, like veggie burgers, where they're trying to give them that kind of mouth feel of like a normal burger. This is just something to look out for, just like carrageenan. They'll slip that in a lot of foods. I was so heartbroken to find out that carrageenan was in Boost. It can cause ulcers, it can cause like serious issues. That's why a lot of people are having GI problems because there's carrageenan in so many different foods. So look out for that ingredient too. Foodicate does a great job at picking that up as well. And FYI, we're not getting paid by Foodicate to mention them at all. We just really like the app because it's helpful.
And last but not least, the thing that Lora and I have to avoid is artificial flavoring. Artificial flavoring can be a list of 10 or more chemicals that we have no idea what it's made out of. But one thing that we do have an idea is Cinnamix. Seriously, I want you to type that into the Google machine, Senomyx. And this stuff is in Pepsi, Nestle. We'll spare you the details, but basically what they do is take aborted fetuses' kidneys and use them in the research of food flavoring.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's very gross, and this is stuff that you can look up for yourself. And seriously, if you type Cinnamix into Google, the first thing that pops up is their website, and it says Cinnamix, a healthier way to flavor. And I'm actually just trying to figure out what that means in and of itself. When you dig deeper into what this company is actually doing in their research, putting stem cells in your food,
from aborted baby kidneys. Look it up. The only way you're ever going to be able to fully grasp something is if you do your own research.
It's like uncovering a lot of uncomfortable truths that you have to reconcile with somebody. And at the end of the day, it's with yourself, because you're responsible for what goes into your body. Something
I wanted to turn a blind eye to, that I wanted to pretend like I just never found out, was what I learned about green tea. It's actually the one tea that soaks up the most fluoride naturally. And so if you have a highly fluorinated tea plus your highly fluorinated water plus all of the other crap that we've been mentioning that all helps to mess up your stomach, it starts to paint a pretty clear picture as to why there are so many people right now who are popping up with all of these stomach issues.
And don't just take our word for it. Please, please, please do your own research. Look at YouTube, look at Google, and a book that we highly recommend is Man's Higher Consciousness by Professor Hilton Hitoma. There's such great information about how the chain of energy gets to your food, from sun to plant to animal to you. So if you really want to know how food works, this is the book to tell you.
Not only will this book help you be able to get a better understanding of how food works with your body, but it'll help you understand your body in general. We're stuck with these things our entire life.
And it's weird that we kind of live inside our bodies and we don't even know how they work.
I know that's something that we personally want to dive deeper into, figuring out, exactly what our bodies do, how they operate, because it's so amazing. You can heal yourself from almost anything, literally anything.
It's the perfect organism if you allow your body to regenerate the way it's supposed to.
It just can't do what it's supposed to do when you put it in circumstances that it was not originally intended to be in.
So if you got anything out of this video, be sure to share with your friends and family and let them know how they've been deceived. And be sure to like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, and ring the notification bell to see our next video.
That's all for right now. Remember, focus on making every day legendary. You're worth it.
Peace.